We're live on YouTube. I'm Faye D'Souza. Thank you for joining us. It's a very, very important conversation. Now, in this entire COVID pandemic that India is currently battling, we've seen a mass exodus of people leaving cities to go back to their villages in some of the most heart-wrenching conditions. The latest that we're witnessing are truckloads of people actually leaving the cities to go back to their villages. But in the meantime, something very interesting is also taking place with our state governments. Our state governments are actually completely overhauling labor laws in order to, as they say, revive the economy and boost growth in their particular states after COVID-19 is done, after the lockdowns are over. Now, this is what has been done. Big changes by Madhya Pradesh, Uttar Pradesh, and Gujarat. In Uttar Pradesh and Madhya Pradesh, effectively, labor laws have been tossed out completely for the next 1,000 days in Madhya Pradesh and the next 3 years in Uttar Pradesh. Smaller changes in Rajasthan and Punjab. Now let's take a look at what these labor laws are. The Factories Act, for example, actually looks at safety, health, and welfare of the workers. The Shops and Commercial Establishments Act regulates the hours of work, payment, a weekly off, leave every year, child labor, and overtime. Now, the Minimum Wage Act, which is the most important, regulates how companies can lay off people, if they are going to do any retrenchment, what the rules are about that, and of course, the most important part of all, what the minimum wage is going to be. Now, here's the thing that we have to ask. Is this really going to revive sectors? Or is it going to simply open the door for large-scale exploitation of labor? What this will effectively do is remove all bargaining power from the hands of the labor or the workers. And let me just remind you, for those of you who think that this is not going to happen to you, remember that the city of Noida is in Uttar Pradesh. And if Uttar Pradesh has now, for all practical purposes, tossed out its labor laws, does this also apply to the office that you work in Noida, in Bhopal, and in Ahmedabad in Gujarat? These are the questions we're going to ask right now, and I have a panel joining me right now to answer those questions. I have Sanjoy, he's a labor law advocate. Hi. Chandan Kumar is an activist and a member of the Minimum Wage Advisory Board for the Government of India. Ravi, Jhasani is a member of the Plastic Manufacturers Association, who will bring to us the businessman's point of view. And Dinakar Lanks is with the BJP, a representative and a spokesperson of the ruling party, who will give us the point of view of the government or the BJP. Gentlemen, good evening, and thank you for joining us. Mr. Ghose, my first question is to you. Does this, and again, this is because people in the big cities tend to believe that labor laws are only for factory workers and not for them. Does this apply to everyone, even someone who's working in an IT company or a school or a college? Does it apply to everybody?
Well, thank you, Faye, for having me in your program. So far as the question that you asked, the Supreme Court way back in the Bangalore water supplies case has given a very broad and expansive definition of industry. So as a matter of fact, even the Tirupati temple is an industry. You heard recently that contract laborers of Tirupati were removed from service. A kirana shop, a club, a hospital, a pan shop, an IT company. So the definition of industry is so wide that any systematic activity which is carried on with the worker and the management to produce goods and services comes in the definition of industry. So yes, it will affect many, many more people than we are actually thinking it will. It won't be the traditional blue-collar man in a factory with a chimney and a furnace.
So just give us a little bit, before I bring in the rest of my panelists, give us an understanding, Mr. Ghose, what this means. Let's assume now we know that Lucknow, Noida, cities in Uttar Pradesh, because Uttar Pradesh effectively has removed all labor laws for the next 3 years.
Right.
Does this include my weekly off? Sunday, for example, can companies in Noida say, listen, we no longer have to give you Sunday off. We can make you work 12, 14 hours. We can actually pay you whatever we want. We can retrench you without giving you any sort of compensation or any sort of severance package. Is this, what does this change? What rules does this change?
Okay, you'll have to give me a minute for this, Faye. First, you have to understand that a lot of this is speculation because we only have the cabinet note of the Uttar Pradesh government. And in the social media, there is an alleged draft of an ordinance which is circulating. So we don't know the exact contours of what this law is going to be. Now, it says it will save a few laws and most of the laws will go. Now, for example, you have raised this issue of weekly offs. Now, that also is a big question as to whether the weekly offs will be there or not. More importantly, even minimum wages, the Minimum Wages Act also is one of the acts scheduled to be suspended. However, the draft which is circulating says that the government will on its own fix a minimum wage outside the statutory norms. So there is absolute chaos. More importantly, for example, think of provisions like gratuity. So you have worked for so many years, 20 years, 30 years, and you're about to retire, and now the payment of gratuity act will not be there. Also, there are certain important central legislation like the Provident Fund Act and the Employee State Insurance Act. Now, these are contribution-based laws where workers have contributed for so many years, and there is still lack of clarity whether these laws would also stand suspended. Of course, the proposed cabinet note and the alleged draft being circulated exempts women and children. So you would assume that women, the Maternity Benefit Act will continue. You will assume that the Child Labor Regulation and Abolition Act will continue. However, an important law like the Trade Unions Act goes. Now, just imagine the Constitution guarantees the right to form associations and unions. So let us say women workers want to form a trade union to protect the rights of women workers. At one level, you're saying that women will be protected, but the Trade Union Act goes. So this is actually astounding, including the Industrial Disputes Act, the UP Industrial Disputes Act, which gives the right of the workman to approach a labor court or an authority complaining with a grievance. So today, you are even taking away the right of a workman to go to court or a tribunal or to a labor authority and ask for some kind of justice, some kind of recourse. Also remember, with regard to payment of wages, they say only Section 5 will apply. Now, Section 5 only gives a 10-day period that you have to pay the monthly wages within 10 days. However, the authority under the Act where you can go and complain, the authority under the Minimum Wages Act where you can get 10 times the compensation for lesser payment of minimum wages, they are all obliterated. So you are actually throwing out the baby with the bathwater. And also this so-called protection of women, you know how India is. This actually is a very anti-women legislation of ordinance because it will encourage employers not to hire women employees, because if they hire women employees, then they'll have to ensure those laws which are applicable to women are applied. So therefore,
one second. So does this mean, forgive me, does this mean that the sexual harassment laws, for example, the Vishaka guidelines still hold? What about creches and the guidelines that were passed a couple of years ago by the Women and Child Ministry, safety in factories or safety in any of our offices? Does that also still hold?
What if you have to interpret when they are saying that laws and welfare provisions of women and children will continue, then I would assume that the protection of women from in the sexual harassment in the workplace, as well as creches and other facilities for women, would continue. But again, there is absolute lack of clarity. This is just speculation and conjecture.
So just to put it back in a nutshell to our viewers who are just joining us, Mr. Ghosh is just telling us, Sanjoy Ghosh, who's a lawyer specifically dealing with labor matters, that the rules being passed right now by the Madhya Pradesh, Uttar Pradesh, Gujarat government actually bring into question minimum wage, bring into question gratuity rules, bring into question the EPFO or the PF Act, the Trade Union Act, your ability to approach the court if you believe your employer is being unfair, and also most importantly, the number of hours you work, whether or not you get a weekly off, whether or not you get annual leave, things like this. And remember, this is not for just blue-collar workers in factories. This is for any of us who are employees on a salary.
Just to interrupt, also, just on a lighter vein, it also affects journalists because the Working Journalists Act makes all journalists workmen and give them the protection under the Industrial Disputes Act. So actually, this attacks the press also, the reporters.
Well, one would assume something that affects reporters and press this much would actually be read about or written about more in the press, given that most of it is based out of Noida in Film City. But somehow we haven't heard a cheep out of anyone. Let me bring in Mr. Chandan Kumar, who's an activist. Mr. Kumar, the aim here, very clearly by the government, has been to revive industry. And to create more jobs. My concern is this: if I can make one worker, as an employer, I can make one worker stretch 3 more hours a day and work on Sundays, and work for less money, that actually reduces the number of jobs because I'm going to use one guy instead of three. Do you actually believe this will increase the number of jobs?
First of all, thank you, Faye, for this opportunity, and it's a fantastic panel. Let me begin by saying two things. The most important thing, then when you have some problem in your home, then you fix the problem instead of aggravating that. And what this government is doing, this is not a new agenda. I think Sanjay can add more about it. This has been the agenda of the government for a very, very long time. It has been introduced in 2015, and now they have been wanting to pass all these anti-labor legislation on the central level, and they realized that there will be a lot of conflict, and therefore they decided to do on the state level. So I would like to basically give a reference of the William Beveridge Commission immediately after the World War II, and it was discussed, and the commission recommended that a lot of problem, a lot of chaos has happened around the world, and now we need to basically come up with some kind of very substantive measures to fix the workers' problem. And therefore, as an outcome, the EPFO, ESIC, all this beautiful legislation, the most aggressive, most kind of radical legislation which talks about the statutory protections to the working class, these all came into existence. The second thing, Faye, the minimum wages question. If you read the Supreme Court order of the Bandhua Mukti Morcha and the PUDR case, and also read the Unni Choi versus State of Kerala, there's two big Supreme Court judgment. One of the most powerful Supreme Court jurisprudence which talks about wages is a constitutional right. It's a constitutional right. Nobody can basically deny that. And look at the way now the government is basically using the ordinance process to completely dismantle the labor laws which fought over decades and decades. And working class got it through the struggle. It is not like a prerogative of the government or kind of arbitrary decision of the government where they can dismantle it very simply. So as you rightly said, that these all labor laws, they feel, I have no idea who are their advisors, who are they discussing with that. If you read the World Bank report, Faye, it talks about the ease of doing business. This is what they're pitching in. We need to defeat China. We need to talk about the industrial production. We need to increase the economic growth. I don't understand that. If you read all the big global reports, the labor law does not stand in any of the list as far as the ease of doing business is concerned. So I don't understand that how they are pushing the labor law reform. Let me give you one more. Let me give you one more data, Faye. Very, very important. If you read, if you see the UP, Madhya Pradesh, and also Bihar, all these states, and their SDI index is also very low as far as other states of India is concerned. So the government is trying to, I think I would say that, trying to create a competitive federalism, that you come to my state, aap mere rajya mein aiye, aapko hum gulam zyada denge, like that. So
but this is not new.
More slave labors or like that. So this is a kind of competitiveness where we want to basically
I know, Mr. Chandan Kumar, competitive federalism is not new. Remember when the Tata Nano factory was under threat in West Bengal? I remember being a reporter at that time. Between Karnataka, Gujarat, and Maharashtra, they actually competed with each other to get that factory. It finally wound up in Gujarat. But this is not a new thing for states to compete with each other and make each other, sort of keep each other on their toes. How is that a bad thing?
It's not a bad thing, but you cannot make a competitiveness on the sweats and the bloods of the working class. What exactly you are attempting to do? You are making a laws which is going to exploit workers more and more. So what is your effort exactly? What you're trying to do? So are your efforts is going to create a more economic growth? No, absolutely not. We have seen historically all these examples, all these flexibility, weakening the labor laws have created a more chaos. Think about the Maruti Suzuki plant case. There's a number of cases I can go to, Faye, about that one by one. Wherever you have made the labor laws more flexible, more weak, there is a more chaos. I mean, I feel that, are we heading towards the authoritarian regime? Are we heading toward the social, are we creating any social chaos at this moment? I don't understand that. So how this government is creating a situation where we are heading toward the social unrest? That will be
all right. Fair enough. Let me bring in the other point of view. Dinakar Lanka represents the BJP, and we'll also bring in Mr. Ravi Jhasani, who represents the business community here. But Mr. Lanka first, questions that were just asked about where the advice is coming to actually do this, and are we sacrificing years and years, decades and decades of worker, laws and that have developed in this country? Again, reminding all my viewers, IT industry employees, bank employees, journalists, everybody comes under these laws. Absolutely. Whether or not you get Sunday off.
Absolutely.
These are the laws that determine that. Okay. So, Mr. Lanka, who advised the governments to do this, and what is the aim really?
Absolutely.
First, let you observe that labor is concurrent list. Central and state governments make their legislatures and enactments. As far as central government is concerned, about 45 labor laws are in existence, and as far as states are concerned, 200 labor laws are in existence. This is the way in which it is carried. But the present scenario should be examined pre and post COVID-19. The situation of the employment opportunity for laborers, even organized or unorganized, we know that what kind of problems are going to be faced. The most uncertain way we are there. Keeping view of those facts, various state governments at the state levels, they are taking their decisions irrespective of their parties. Let you see not only the BJP party, even BJD in Odisha, Punjab Congress Party, Maharashtra Congress Party coalition government, and all, even Rajasthan. Everybody is trying to make their own laws and convening their whatever their expectations to the union government also. Already union government had decided to divide central laws into 4 courts. One is individual industrial relation, second one is wages, third one is social security, and fourth one is occupational safety. Based on that, various recommendations are coming from state governments. Already some state governments have passed their ordinance. Whether these ordinance, which are coping up with union government enactments, if any kind of deviations arises, definitely union law will prevail. That is the ultimate thing. But the restructure process post COVID-19 is mandatory, because we know that unorganized sector, the immigrant laborers, they are moving away from their destination as their families, wherever it locates. What kind of restructure happens, we don't know. The employment opportunity of the respective states for those laborers should be provided. Keeping in view of all those facts, attraction of investment is the mandatory thing. Keeps on, we are discussing about the loopholes and problems, but we are not concentrating on core issue. Core issue is here how to provide employment opportunities post COVID-19. That is the important priority for union government and state governments together. Just a minute. Keeping view of the practical constraints of each and every state, after examining the local conditions, state governments had prepared ordinance. We need to check up thoroughly what kind of provisions are there, just by means of circulating in social media and keeping few points. We should not discuss. Let you observe the Uttar Pradesh ordinance, in which they had very clearly exempted the Building and Other Construction Works Act 1996, Workmen Compensation Act 1923, Bonded Labor Act, as well as Section 5 of the Payment of Wages Act. And keeping view of the thing happened in Vizag, safety and health measures of the laborers also taking care. This information is coming out, and wherever it is required, there should be a trade-off between the new amendments as well as the interest and protection of the laborers. Both should be considered.
Mr. Lanka, quick question from me. Where is the research or the suggestion scientifically, or the report that tells us that if we allow employers to stretch the work day and to actually cut the minimum wage and to make people work on Sundays and not give them leave, that you will increase employment like this?
Let the respective state government should provide, because they may have their own task force based on those recommendations only. They might be passed the ordinance. So respective state governments should provide that workings, whatever they had obtained suggestions, whatever it is, whatever the task force they had made. That is the issue pertaining to the state government. Respective state government, based on the local issues, they will provide. Union government, definitely union.
Mr. Ravi Jhasani. Okay, let me bring in Mr. Ravi Jhasani, who is part of the Plastic Manufacturers Association. Mr. Jhasani, could you tell us that, do you believe that this sort of...
Thank you, Faye.
Yes, is actually going to lead to an increase in employment?
Thank you, Faye, for joining me as a panelist. See, hearing Sanjoy ji, Chandan Kumar ji, Dinakar ji, today we are not understanding like, what is the core issue, what the industries are facing. First of all, we do not have the clarity. Tell me which industry has the clarity. We are again and again, asking for clarity. What is happening? We are told that you have to pay 100% salary to the laborers, right? We have paid this 100% salary for the month of March. For the month of April also, we were told to pay.
Oh,
Yes, go on, Mr. Jhasani.
I think we have lost it.
Okay. All right, so we'll try and get him back. But in the meantime, let me just bring in Sanjay Ghose for a rebuttal to what Mr. Dinakar Lanks says. Sanjay Ghose,
Yes.
first of all.
Yeah. Okay,
Yes.
I'm so excited to rebut. Let me just rebut without your questions.
Go ahead.
First of all, this whole COVID, which is being now used as a panacea, as an excuse for everything, let's be very clear. And as what the employers representative was saying, and my heart goes out to the employers also. I, as a lawyer, appear for the workmen and the management. Now, it is unfair for the government to not come out with any bailout package for the employers, not to give them any tax concessions, not to give them any incentives, to force them to pay wages without any kind of loans, without any kind of relaxations, and then to say, okay, you can go and remove anyone you want, you can sack anyone you want. And it is actually foolish to think that when you do that, an employer who is so stressed out, and let us be very clear that COVID is not happening in vacuum. COVID is like the tail end of a cyclone which already was facing the Indian economy. We were in the doldrums. The industries, the small scale industries were all looking for package and bailout even before COVID came. So let's not make COVID an excuse, number one. Number two, when COVID has come, to say that the states will decide and it is the state's responsibility. I'm sorry, the BJP, learned BJP member can't say so, because ultimately it is the President of India who will give concurrence to this, because the central laws enacted by the Parliament of India are going to be suspended. So he should be telling his party to really think hard as to what they are planning to do. And as a matter of fact, if not listen to us, please listen to the Bharatiya Mazdoor Sangh, which is an associate of your own parivar. The Bharatiya Mazdoor Sangh has come out in absolute condemnation of what is being done, especially in Madhya Pradesh, where in units which are less than 50, employing less than 50 employees, all the safety norms have also been done away with, saying that you don't even have to have any kind of safety requirement because you're employing less than 50. So therefore, to think that these employers, when you are not giving them any bailout at one level, and at another level, you are saying, go ahead and remove whoever you want in the next 3 years. If we think that this is going to revive the economy, if we think that this is going to lead to mass scale employment, it will change the fortunes of everyone, is absolutely wrong. I'm sorry, I'm taking too much of time. And the last point I want to make, Faye, and this is very important, very few people understand that the Industrial Disputes Act is a mechanism meant for both employer and workmen. Please understand what happened in Surat. The workers in Surat were agitating, were aggressive, because the employers had not made them that payment.
Yes.
Under the Industrial Disputes Act, moment the workers get agitated, the employer can run to the labor authority and start a conciliation process. And when the conciliation process is on, then the workers have to stay their hand. The workers then cannot indulge in any strike. They can't indulge in violence. They can't indulge in any aggressive action. So therefore, by doing this, you have actually taken away the security blanket and the protection for the employers also. So therefore, don't think that you are doing a favor to the employers.
Can I speak?
Yes. So Mr. Lanka, before you go on to respond, I just want to add to that question, and we're still waiting for our other guests to join in. But here's the thing. So effectively, does this mean that workers can no longer unionize? That in case someone gets injured in a factory or at office, you could be sitting in an IT company and the AC can fall on your head. That is also effectively getting injured while at work. This effectively removes the responsibility of the employer to compensate you, look after you, take care of your medical expenses if something like this happens. So you're then waiting for the goodness of your employer's heart. There is no law that protects us anymore. Is this true, Mr. Lanka?
Absolutely wrong, because we are thinking in favor of the laborers only. Let you observe that these migrant laborers and who are losing their employment opportunities due to lockdown, I am unable to understand. It is a foolishness to not to consider COVID as an excuse like those words. If anybody uses, definitely that is foolish. entire world, what is happening about the industries, investments, and employment opportunities. Everybody knows. There, if we attract investments, definitely we will provide secured employment opportunities. Huge extent of migrant laborers are shifting to their home places. There is no proper workforce after lockdown.
Mr.
Post-COVID-19, we don't know. 1 minute, fine.
Now
1 minute.
you're ranting. Let me stop you for a second. The reason why migrant laborers, as you call them, are leaving and going to their villages is because the government did not look after them. Because the government should have transferred money into their accounts. This is not anybody else's responsibility, but
it is such a huge pandemic which has impacted everyone. Let you observe in US, thousands of cars, miles together, stayed for food on cars. That is the situation in the world. Why are you targeting on government of India alone? No, it is the problem. It is the problem which happened in entire world. We are not isolated from the world. We had provided enough, but there is a huge extent of panic is there. Huge extent of panic is there among the migrant laborers. So state governments also, they had done their level best, but the psychology of the laborer, they want to go their home because of their family members, their parents, their children, and being a human bondage, they want to go their native place. That is 1 minute. You have raised so many issues. Let you take few minutes. If you have that much of intolerance to hear my side, that means you can't get any solution. Let you hear first.
No, Mr. Lanka,
let you hear first.
I was just one question. This is now week 5 of the lockdown, right? In week 1, week 2, week 3, week 4, let's assume the government was still planning. Why didn't we do like Canada, like Germany, like several of the other countries? Let's not compare to the US, because the US is being very, very badly managed right now. Nobody aspires to be under that sort of management. Let's look at the countries that are well managed. Why didn't we cash transfer money into the workers' bank accounts so they could eat? These people are starving.
Can I tell? Just a classical example, let you hear. 32,000 crores worth of funds were available for the registered construction workers in various state governments. Let you take in Andhra Pradesh, 20 lakhs laborers are there. Union government has given consent to deliver that amount to their accounts. Even single paisa not yet delivered, though 250 crores is laying as a deposit in their account. It is state governments, when the union government has given instruction, use that fund. They haven't used, means who should be held responsible? I'm unable to understand.
One second. Union government has given the funds?
And that is there. That is 1% cess which collected. It is the fund under the control of the union government. Union government has given consent. Let you use that fund.
Please.
No,
construction labor.
No, sir.
Even single paisa is not released.
Sir, there is no concession given to anyone.
If you don't know, let you get the information from me. If you don't have any idea about that, let you take from me, or let you check. Let you take your information to RBI. 32,000 posts, not single rupee, 32,000 posts which laid in their accounts.
The state money, there is
Let you observe the Karnataka. Let you observe Delhi. What happened?
with the central government.
That is regulated by central government. If any amount want to use, central government consent is required.
There is no letter which has shown that. There is nothing which we have received.
Ravi,
No.
Jhasani, just come in. Mr. Jhasani, go ahead. You haven't made your opening statement. Go ahead.
Yeah. Thank you, Faye, and I'm very sorry for the internet connections. But let me tell you one thing. The government, the government is saying that, we have done this. There is not a single thing which has come up from the government for our industries.
Absolutely.
We had asked for labor and wages salary, the funds which are lying in ESIC account, 91,000 crores, which are lying in the funds. And 30th June is the last date for it. We have sent a letter to each and every person concerned. but nothing has been done for the unemployment scheme which is there. The funds are lying. Secondly, we are not getting any benefits in the kind of say electricity or probably bank interest. Bank interest. No bank has given any layoff of interest. No, sir. We have all the 125 industries working in our association. We have contacted our banks. We have given our letters. Nothing which has been get
1 second.
on the. And also, sir, let me complete. Sir, you are talking about the migrant laborers who are leaving our factories. They have got our salaries for the month of March. They've got our salaries for the month of April also. And now they are still running away. And government is telling us to pay for the month of May also. Or, no clarifications are given to us. Like how Mr. Sanjoy Ghose and Chandan Kumar are not getting any benefits. We are not even known that what we are going to do after COVID-19. From where will the labor come? Do you think when suddenly the production will start, we will have labor in our company? From where will the labor come? They have already run away. They have taken the salaries. Who are gone away also, they are sending letters to us, or they are sending us messages that this is the place where you have to deposit our salaries. So we are not in a situation. There is completely chaos, sir. There is completely chaos. There is no clarification at all to any industries.
Right. 1 minute. Let you give 1 minute for him.
1 second, gentlemen, please. I just want to make a request to our panelists. Since this is an app we are using and we don't have the ability to actually moderate the microphones, please wait until the other person has finished speaking before you jump in, or I will come to you. Let me give Mr. Lanka an opportunity, if I can, to respond to what Mr. Jhasani has just said about the fact that the government has not given any clarity or any help to industry. And I can see your hand up. Chandan Kumar, I'll come to you after this. Mr. Lanka, respond, please.
Can I respond, D'Souza?
Yes, go ahead.
Union government, sufficient liquidity has pumped through RBI. Bankers should provide working capital requirements to MSME. Already 25,000 crores refinance made to the CB. And there are issues. I never deny. There are so many issues. These migrant labor or laborer who gone to their native places, whether they come or not come after the lockdown, the whole restructure process is there, uncertainty is there. As far as incentives are concerned, yes, that is important. Definitely, Union government is preparing under the Finance Ministry a package for the MSME and other incentives to boost our economy and revive the industries to get on track. We are going to announce. Meanwhile, 3 months up to June, EMIs for SMEs and all industrial sectors, EMIs were deferred. Whether excised or not, some MSME whether you hear or not, if you are impatient while I am giving answer, means you don't want answer from me rather than making allegations. Let you see that MSMEs, out of 100 MSMEs, only 26 MSMEs only opted for deferment of their loans. I don't know why.
I will give you the answer for this, sir. That is why let you hear me, then you raise. I will give each and everything for you answer. I don't know. Only 26%, whether banker has incorporated or MSME owner is innocent, I don't know. But 74% of the people didn't opt for of their loan payment. As far as interest subsidy and other incentives, income tax, definitely the Prime Minister and Finance Minister are going to announce in next package. Definitely, Union government provide stimulus package for MSME and other industries to get track on our economy. We are very much concerned for MSME, but liquidity problem is continuing due to the banker behavior, risk awareness, as well as the investors also. They are unable to, MSME owners are also unable to predict the uncertainty, how to foresee it, how to anticipate it, whether they can repay it or not, whether their production is get sales and the cash flows will be positive or not, existing payments. All these uncertainties are there.
both banker as well as entrepreneurs are both are on back foot. They definitely both should be come forward.
Oh, all right, let me just recap. So Mr. Lanka has said that MSMEs are being looked after by the government. They were actually, loans, moratoriums have offered, only 26% have taken it. They've been given 25,000 crore rupees liquidity through the RBI, through the banks. And of course, the government has an eye on this, and the government will offer a stimulus package in due time. Mr. Jhasani, quick response, and I'll bring in the other two guests. Quick response.
Yes. Yeah. See, the problem is we are not asked for the deferred. Now the government is saying now you do not have to pay, but you have to pay after 3 months. That also with interest. So when we do not have any business, we do not have a turnover. There is a zero turnover, and we do not know what is going to be happening in the future. But still, it is deferred. We had told the government that you can just do stop the clock. Do not charge us interest. We are not there to run away. We are going to pay each and every loan. We do not want a waiver of loan. Stop the clock. Stop the clock for each and everything, for the interest. But this is not the way government has done. Government has told deferred. Even for the electricity bill, they are deferring it. That means they want everything, whether we are working or not, but they want everything with interest. Again, with interest. From where will the industry give? That is why only 26%, sir. Your question, only 26% has succeeded by coming out. This is the reason, because we all have done a meeting and we have told the government that we do not want this. Either you stop the clock, stop us from interest.
I don't accept. Industry means not only you. Various problems are there. Different people need different things.
Income taxes,
No, sir. You are not really the person. You are not only the person to represent entire industry. Various problems are there. Different kind of suggestions are coming. Different one kind of suggestions come from you. It is not the final for you.
Okay,
sir, you asked the question why 26%. I gave you the answer why only 26%. So I gave you the answer for that question.
We're coming back to labor.
That means 74% remaining people have liquidity. Can you give that answer? You can't.
Wait, Mr. Lanka, wait. It's not that kind of conversation. Mr. Sanjay Ghosh, here's my concern here. But there are several things according to Ravi Jhasani, and I know that representatives of the SME sector have said that a large number of these businesses are simply going to shutter because they're not going to be able to survive. So there's several things that the government could have done up till now, which hasn't been done. But this on the labor law side has been done at a cost of employees. And we should stop saying labor, we should stop saying factory workers, employees, at the cost of employees. Is this, do you believe that this is a misfired shot in the dark with good intention?
Faye, first I would like to correct you a little bit. So when you said that the American response is not to be emulated, you're partly right. Do remember that in all their bumbling, Trump also gave $1 billion package for the small scale sectors and the employees. So the small industries and the employees who were rendered unemployed were taken care of even in the mismanagement of the pandemic. So therefore, this is a very key issue which you rightly raised, and the representative of the industry is also rightly raised, that this is a time of hand-holding. Hand-holding means you have to hand-hold the industry. Also, it means hand-holding the workers. As you rightly pointed out, that you have this entire machinery of Aadhaar, you have this entire machinery of Chandan accounts. What prevented you from putting in that money in the hands of these workers?
Exactly.
And I can't believe that the country does not have money. We have 20,000 crores to spend on redoing the Rajpath. We have given 395 crores to an architect's firm in Ahmedabad to make the plans for that place.
Exactly.
So I don't think that this is a lack of money we are talking about. Number one. Number two, let's be also very clear that the revival package, which is being leaked in the papers for every day we are hearing, a revival of a patient in intensive care does not come when he's dead. A revival has to come now, number one.
Yeah.
You can't say it is coming, patient is dead, and then you come up with a revival package.
Absolutely.
Now let's deal with the first dose of revival which came from the Honorable Finance Minister. What was the revival? So far as the workers are concerned, you only said that they can withdraw money from their own provident fund. What is the charity you are doing to them? The provident fund is what the worker saves for his entire career, his entire life in the company.
Absolutely.
To be used when he retires for his marriage of his daughter, to buy a small shop, to buy a small house. And you are saying you withdraw that money and we are giving you this permission, so we are great. Number two, what you are saying, and the BJP representative is absolutely misinformed. Under the Building and Construction Workers Act, this cess has nothing to do with the central government.
Absolutely.
And it is very irresponsible to make such a statement. The central government has nothing to do with it. This cess is collected at every state level, and it is a statutory cess. And this was announced
Can I tell?
by the finance
Can I tell? Can I tell how connect? How it connect?
Sir,
No, one second.
I did not interrupt
please,
you.
let him
I
finish.
have the courtesy to listen to you. You have the courtesy to listen to me. This says,
But a series of unwanted things.
Minister's package was that every state will be requested to give whatever they want from that to these migrant workers. So A, it was not your money. B, it is just a request. And C, it was left to every state. So a state like, a union territory like Delhi gave 5,000 rupees. A state like Karnataka did nothing until now they are saying they'll give 3,000 rupees. So this is entirely left to the discretion of the states with no input coming from the center. So this is actually a policy paralysis. You can't revive an economy like this. You can't do labor reforms like this. The labor reforms have been pending since 2014. It can be nobody's case. No one can come to your program, Faye, and say that we don't need labor reforms. Of course, we need labor reforms. The industry is crying for it. The workmen are crying for it. The informal sector is crying for it. You have been sitting on the code since 2014. Yes, we have to admit, we have to also give it to the government credit that they came up with the concept of simplifying labor laws. They put it in the public domain. They asked for suggestions, which is very good. But now from 2014, we are in 2026 years. So the Industrial Relations Bill, which was introduced in Parliament by the Honorable Labour Minister in 2019, revived that, speeded that, promulgate an ordinance to deal with that. But instead of that, your solution is to throw the baby with the bathwater.
Right, Chandan Kumar and Mr. Lanka, I'll come back to you. I just want to give Chandan Kumar an opportunity to answer. Mr. Kumar, I know that you want to rebut as well. Go ahead.
No, I just want, the way Sanjoy said, I think our BJP colleague friend is kind of misinformed. And I really want to, sort of give us some kind of facts so that it can help him to understand that what exactly is happening. If you read what the IMF economists talked about it, not even the 1% of the country's GDP has been spent as far dealing with the corona pandemic crisis. So I have no idea that how much money, even the Pradhan Mantri Garib Kalyan Yojana, 1.7 lakhs crore, how much money given.
Okay, we seem to have lost that. Yes.
D'Souza, I understood.
Yes.
Union government 1,70,000 crores, the worth of package in which there is a cash benefits transfer is there, and in kind rice, dal, and these kind of schemes in which 80 crore people across the nation got benefited. These gentlemen, they want to conveniently divert the whole issue regarding to the building construction labor also. That is central and state coordination. It is a central act which empowers the state government to collect 1% of cess for each and every construction for the benefit and welfare of the construction labor. Let you read and study the guidelines, rules and regulations, then come and debate. As far as central, one minute, D'Souza. Central Labor Works Board Chairman, he is representing from Andhra Pradesh, Srinivas Naidu. Under his control, all these things regarding to these cess amounts and everything, whatever they collect state government, they need to submit to the union government how much amount they spent for the welfare of the laborer. After the balance amount should be intimated in frequent intervals to the union government. As per the guidelines of the union government only, that amount should be spent. Let you read the guidelines. If they don't understand the reality of the concept, let them check and come again for the discussion and debate, rather than just throwing mud on the union government. Union government has instructed to the state government to utilize the 32,000 crores worth of that fund for the welfare of the construction laborers. Some state governments hasn't followed.
One second. All right, understood. I just want to point out that of the 1,70,000 crore rupees that you're talking about as the package given by the government, I've spent the last couple of days talking to stakeholders, specifically very small group, disability community, people who are disabled who are supposed to get 1,000 rupees out of that package, most of them have not gotten it. That's one point. Second point, a large portion of this 1,70,000 crore rupee package was already part of the existing budget. It is not a new allocation that has been made. One second. No, now you have to listen to me. That was reallocation. It is actually an existing allocation that has just been announced again. Thirdly, do you realize that it is 0.8% of the total GDP compared to other countries that have given 5%, 6%, 10% of their GDP? It's woefully inadequate.
No, it is not enough. Whether the Prime Minister and Finance Minister told that this is the only the package to confine with this entire COVID episode will be completed. No, there is a package. Timely, we will deliver regarding to the MSMEs and the industries, incentives and stimulus are concerned.
When will
When it will happen, sir? When it will happen?
Then we will sit together. Same panel will sit together. Let me discuss on the day on which the Finance Minister announced. Definitely, we will sit together. Then smile. Then whether you buy or not, I don't know. If you want really the benefit, let you hope and expect, and let you expect debate from me on the day of the announcement. And one more thing, very important question which asked D'Souza regarding to the 1,70,000 crores. Yes, there are certain budgetary amounts which preponed as pump the liquidity into the hands of the farmers and some eligible persons. As far as the widows and old age pensions are concerned, the data which we get from the state government, whatever the data they give, accordingly, union government transfer that amount.
Well, here's the thing: there are a lot of state governments that are.
I have one question.
There should be clearer communication, Mr. Okay. Go on.
I have one small question with the panel. I need to ask one small question with the panel because maybe I'm wrong. Is there some, according to our information, there is an ESIC reserve fund of 91,000 crores, which is going to get expired in the month of 30th of June 2020. Okay. Now, there was a meeting which was held on 18th of September 2016 and had formulated a scheme christened as Atal Bimat Vyakhat Kalyan Yojana, ABVKV, to provide unemployment allowance to insured persons. So as per the scheme, the insured person with at least 2 years valid ESI coverage will be entitled to unemployment allowance up to 90 days at 25% of their average daily wages. We have sent this letter to the government that the funds are lying with them with all the data, but yet we have not received any comment from them.
It is a fair point. Definitely, it is a fair point. It is a fair point. Definitely, get noted. That I will, after debate, I will also make follow-up regarding to this ESI fund, because these kind of issues should be discussed. If there is any kind of delays and any kind of non-operative these kind of activities, definitely I'll highlight it. And
all right, let me just.
Sir, let me tell you one thing. In few months, there will be so many NPAs declared by the industry because post-COVID is going to be so bad, and without any help, there is no oxygen from the government.
That is correct. The union government is taking care of that thing. Definitely, that will be announced. Post-COVID, how much of period NPA norms should be relaxed is going to be declared by the finance minister. You need not be worried.
All right, let me just take this back to Sanjoy Ghosh. 1 second, gentlemen. Let me just take this back to Sanjoy Ghosh. But I just want to make a couple of observations on my part. One, Mr. Dinakar Lanks kept saying that a package or a stimulus package is coming. We're already 48 days into the lockdown. It should have come by now. It's taking too long, and not too many people will be able to survive while waiting for this package. Secondly, this whole point of keeping citizens and business and everybody in a sort of infantile darkness, saying the government knows what is best, the government will announce, as if the government is a parent and we are all children. Information is paramount right now. Giving businesses information, giving workers information, giving employees information on what the path is forward will help people plan better. And right now we're not getting enough information. Also, I want to appreciate Mr. Lanka saying that the ESI fund that was just raised on the show, he will personally look into it and he will make calls to the central government. While I appreciate him saying that, one would hope that the central government doesn't need a YouTube show organized by a freelance or an independent journalist to point out problems like this, if that is really the problem. 48 days in, one would hope the central government knows already. Mr. Sanjoy Ghosh, your response right now.
Just a small point. Just a small point for the for this line. The ESIC fund is meant for the workers. It doesn't mean that it has to be used at this moment. I'm only saying, I'm reiterating again and again that government has not spent more than 1% of country's GDP. Why they are not using their own fund instead of eyeing on the workers fund? Why they want to use the EPFO fund? Why they want to use the ESIC fund? I think it's illegal.
This is the problem. These intellectuals, these kind of intellectuals,
One second, sir.
These kind of intellectuals hardship for the economy. These kind of the intellectuals who are making the wrong perception. I am not hunting. The way in which you are presenting, one person is asking one thing, some other person speaking another way. What it is?
Speak fair. I don't know how to
Mr.
speak.
Lanka,
He's not letting me speak. Please let me speak.
Mr. Lanka, that's not fair, because my audience did not hear what Mr. Kumar was saying. Mr. Kumar, say it again, and Mr. Lanka will not interrupt you.
The last point is that I'm only saying that government should not be eyeing on the workers fund. That fund is basically contributed by the working class over the years and years. This is what Sanjay said, that government should be using their own fund. What is the accountability of the PM Care Fund? Fair, you tell me about that. There's no information about that, whether the money is going to be audited, how this money is going to be allocated. There's no clarity about that. So government has their own reserve.
This is the psychology. What debate you have conducted? What is going on here?
Illegal, is anti-constitution. Sorry.
Okay, so Mr. Lanka, speaking over my panelists when they're making a point is really unfair to the audience, because the audience cannot hear Mr. Chandan Kumar, who basically said the EPFO fund is meant for something. The government should use their own funds and not dip into the wagers funds. He also talked about where the accountability is for the PM Cares Fund and why that money is not being used.
I will give answer for both the things.
One second. Sanjay Ghosh also, I want to bring in Sanjay Ghosh. Mr. Ghosh, if the ESI fund is for wagers and for workers, what is it actually going to be used for, and why can't it be used now?
Yeah. Well, see, now we have a template that anything can be done, any law can be amended, any law can be, you can bring out a notification and change that. And of course, you know what is happening in our courts, so let's set the better on that front. So, yes. So now, for example, Chandan is right that the ESI is meant to, as a matter of fact, the ESI has a very big role, because the ESI is supposed to have state-of-the-art hospitals. Post-COVID, when you are going to send those poor workers into the factories while you sit in your plush government offices, these are the workers who are going to be the frontline warriors of Corona. When they contract the Corona, it is the ESI hospital which will be the frontal point of assistance. So this money should be now used to make state-of-the-art ESI hospitals, which has not been happening for now, which is why many workers and many employees don't want the ESI options. They rather say that don't contribute our money to ESI because the ESI hospitals are bureaucratic and the facilities are bad. So coming back to the point which Chandan has highlighted is very important. The government has the money. This is the time to show generosity, because this generosity is also sagacity if you want to save and rescue the economy.
Right. Mr. Lanka, I'll give you the last word. You felt that you weren't given the chance to speak. Go ahead, Mr. Lanka.
As far as the ESI fund is concerned, within the guidelines for the welfare of the employees, it will be get utilized. Let you compare the ESI hospitals. Prior to 2014, how many hospitals are there? From 2014 to till now, how many new hospitals with good infrastructure this government has constructed? Definitely, we are very much care for employees, health and health security, and all the infrastructure pertaining to their health issues. That is one aspect. And then this gentleman, one gentleman raised the point regarding the PM Care. PM Care is not accountable. Will you say like that? Whether any government fund, whatever we collect, definitely that also income tax exemption is there. That means each and every rupee collected from whatever the sources, whether it is individual or a firm or the company, from whoever we get the fund, it is accounted money. Number one.
How much money has come so far?
Around 15 to 20, I think. Exact figures I don't know. Exact figures I don't know. I didn't get in exact figures. Whatever it is, whether it is 10,000 crores, 15,000 crores, or 1 lakh crore, whatever it is, that is whatever the amount it is, that doesn't matter here. For the welfare of the people, for the purpose of for what kind of guidelines we fix to collect regarding to the PM Care Fund, it will be utilized for that purpose only. Number one. Number two, these people, those who are making hue and cry, not at amount has delivered from the union government, 0.8% only from GDP is the points they are raising. Let you wait some time. Let you wait some time. Definitely, some countries they have used 1 minute. Let you hear. Let you hear first. Those countries which has given billions of dollars, how many people died? How many COVID patients are there? Let you compare with India. Why the people who get failed, the nations who get failed, you are comparing with India? We have our plans how to secure, how to safeguard our people. We always feel nation is first. Definitely we deliver whatever the requirement at the phased manner, at the needed hour. Not, we don't want to waste single pie of the public money.
Okay, Mr. Lanka, very good point. You said you don't want to waste a single rupee of the public money and there will be accountability. You also said they could be anywhere between 15,000 crore rupees and 1 lakh crore rupees in the PM Cares Fund right now. That's a very wide...
Whatever it comes, whether 10,000 crores or 50,000, 1 lakh, whatever it is.
No, I'm saying how much? How much has come right now?
Why country has no idea?
I feel in between 10 to 15,000. Exact figure, I don't know.
Between 10 to 15,000 crore rupees. Okay.
There
so
are,
now I want to understand.
one second.
Gentlemen, I just want to understand, Mr. Lanka. There are certain matters, obviously, that are state subjects where the state has to do the spending. Police, for example, state healthcare. A lot of the workers, the farms work that's happening is state subject. A lot of the other allocation for the 1,70,000 crore rupee package that you announced has come from the finance ministry. So it's largely the Consolidated Fund of India, we might assume. Manrega also comes from the Consolidated Fund of India. Could you tell us exactly what this 15,000 crore rupees, assuming give or take, from the PM Cares Fund will be used for? For what projects is it going to be allocated to?
Definitely, government will announce whether it is for medical infrastructure or for the patients, whoever they are facing trouble, whatever the amount they required by means of assistance from the union government. Definitely, the union government will declare at the end of the day. It is in process right now. It is in the process. Incurring expenditure is in the process. Collection is in the process. Not yet completed. It definitely cash inflows and outflows pertaining to the PM Care Fund. Care Fund, definitely union government will declare, because it is a prestigious donation which is receiving by the union government.
So no, I just want to understand. My understanding of this is that the money will be used right now for emergency services. Are you telling us that after the collection phase is over, then it will be allocated to?
No, it is a continuous process. What I can tell you is it is a continuous process as per the planning and as per the task force recommendations union government will make.
Okay. We're going to leave this here right now because we've run out of time. I want to thank our panelists for being very patient and for answering all of our questions. I want to thank my viewers for being patient and joining us as well. Of course, we're trying to master the art of being able to do this on the internet and using phones. And, we don't have the kind of infrastructure that television channels do. But I do hope that this last 1 hour has helped a lot of people understand business by labor, by workers, and by employees. Remember, all of us who work as employees in any office are also governed by labor laws. You're governed by laws that say you have to have 1 day a holiday every week, that you have to have annual leave, that you have to have gratuity, that you have to have insurance. All of these things are governed by labor laws. So when the government in Uttar Pradesh or Gujarat or Madhya Pradesh, for example, in one stroke removes all the labor laws for the next 3 years, that impacts you if you work as an employee. When the government in Karnataka, in Rajasthan, in Odisha, for example, extends the minimum work day from 8 hours to 10 hours or 12 hours, that it actually impacts every single employee, salaried employee in the state. So this is about every one of us. This is not about somebody else sitting somewhere else. We have to make this personal. We have to understand, we have to read, and we have to form opinions about it. Thank you to my panelists for being so patient. And remember, for our viewers, if you enjoyed this conversation, there's a subscribe button at the bottom of this video. Please click on it and click on the bell icon next to it. So the next conversation we have tomorrow, you'll get a little alert about it that the conversation has started. For now, good night and thanks for watching.